Hello everyone, today in this video we will study chapter number 3 section number 2 and the name of the story is The Black Aeroplane. So the story oscillates or shifts between miracle and mystery. The main character of the story is a pilot and he is flying at night in his old Dakota DS-088 aeroplane to travel from France to England. He dreams of his holiday and looks forward to meet his family. In this story, we will study that how one's judgment gets distorted due to fantasizing and how it creates problems. In this chapter, the narrator is a pilot who is eager to meet his family and have a good breakfast that he takes the wrong decision of facing the storm instead of doing the right thing. Miraculously, he somehow manages to escape with the help of a mysterious aeroplane. Let's talk about the author, Frederick Forseth, born on 25th August 1938, is an English author and occasional political commentator. He is best known for thrillers such as The Day of the Jackal, The Odysseus File, The Fourth Protocol, The Dogs of War, and The Devil's Alternative, The Feast of God icon. Let's see the synopsis of the story. The story Black Aeroplane is about a pilot who feels happy and contented to fly over a city that is sleeping at the night time. Means he is flying from Paris to London. While taking his flight, he dreams about the long holiday with his family. He also fantasizes about the scrumptious breakfast he would have upon landing. As soon as he crosses Paris, he gets a look of the dark cloud that were a sign of the upcoming storm. The right decision would have been to turn back to Paris for the sake of safety, but he, being overshadowed by his dreams and not wanting to delay them, risks his own life and heads straight into the storm. Everything gets dark. He is unable to see. All his direction instrument stopped functioning and he lost control of the plane. When all was lost, he saw another plane whose pilot was more than willing to rescue him. The author was panicking as there was a very less amount of fuel left. The anonymous pilot guided him out of the storm and disappeared as soon as they saw light. Upon landing, when he asked the lady in the control room about the other pilot, he is left in the shock when he says that his was the only plane in the sky. So, moral of the story, by the end of the story, we will learn that we should not give up our hope even when we are in trouble. So, let's start. So, let's read the first paragraph of the text. The moon was coming up in the east behind me and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping country. So, first of all, the question arises that who is I here in this paragraph? So, I is who? The pilot, okay, of Dakota plane, who is going to his home. So, what he is saying here, let's see that it was a night time, right, when the sky was clear, right. He is telling about the weather also, that the sky was clear and he could see the twinkling stars, right, like shown here in the picture. So, it was the weather that night and the pilot felt peace in being above a country that had fallen asleep, right? He is saying that there wasn't a cloud in the sky, as were very happy to alone high up above the sleeping countryside. What he wants to say, that the peacefully he is flying his aeroplane, and that was what, that he is saying that because it was night time and the entire country where he was flying over actually, so the people were fallen asleep. Let's see next slide. I was flying my Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. Now, one very important thing here, from where he started his journey? From France to England. He is going to his home. And where is his home? His family in England, right? Because he was a pilot, so he was there, and he took his flight to France before some days, and now he is going back to England. So let's see. I was flying my Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. This is very important question. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So what he is saying here, that when he was flying his this plane, what is the name of the plane? That is Dakota aeroplane. Okay, that is the name of the plane. So this you have to underline. This is very important here, Dakota aeroplane. So he is saying it was, what was the time when he saw his watch? What was the time? It was looking forward being with my family. It was time 1:30, and he is fantasizing where he is dreaming of. So he is fantasizing that in the morning he would be with his family and he would be enjoying a healthy breakfast at home. So I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So what was the time? It is 1:30 in the morning, right? Means at the midnight he started his journey, right? So it was 1:30. Now let's see what is ahead in the next slide. I should call Paris control soon, I thought, as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the light of a big city in front of me. Now what he is saying here? So he is saying here, what is the nose of the aeroplane? On the tip of the aeroplane, right? If you have seen the aeroplane, so the starting point, the face, you can say, of the aeroplane, that is known as, suppose this is the shape of aeroplane, so this is what, nose of aeroplane. Clear? So let's see. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. So what, when he was flying the aeroplane and he was in France that time, right? So he thought that because he was a pilot, right, and it was his duty to inform the Paris control room. So he wanted to inform the Paris control room about the presence of his aeroplane, and so that he could get the necessary instructions from the control room. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the light of a big city in front of me. So at that time, the lights from the Paris city, which is the big city called here, the big city is which here, that is Paris. Okay. So he said that as he, at the time of the flying the aeroplane, so he could see the lights from the Paris, they were blaring at him, right? And he wanted to inform the control agency, right? So let's see what he did, how they responded. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12° west now. DS-088 over. So you should know that, this is the information. Whenever they connect, whenever he just just switch on his you can say the phone, so that actually was because he wanted to call Paris control room, right? So from there, as he took the receiver, so what happened? The voice from the radio answered me immediately, right? So actually that was not phone, that was the radio actually, which keep on giving the instructions, right? So what happened that time? He informed the control room that he's there and he's flying from Paris to London, and when he just told them, informed them, there was a reply. Immediately there was a reply, and they said that now you ought to turn 12 degree west now, DS088 over. And the instructions given by the control room at Paris was that he has to turn, where he has to turn 12 degrees west now. So this was the first instruction given by the control room to him. So this is very important point. You have to underline this, because you can get the MCQs from this paragraph also. So let's talk about the next slide. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west toward the England. So when he just got that instruction, right? So after receiving the instruction, see, these are the directions here, and the sub directions are also there. So after receiving the instruction, what he did, he geared up and he followed the instructions which he got from the control room, Paris control room. Switched over to my second and last fuel tank. So what happened here? He switched on his last fuel tank when he got the instruction. So he geared up and he just putting the last fuel tank into the operation, and he turned his plane as the instruction given from Paris control room, that he has to turn 12 degree towards England, right? So he did that, and let's see what is the next. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me. He's saying here, Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds, storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains, as you can see here in this picture, standing in front of me across the sky. So as he started, he was just dreaming about his family, that he will spend some time with his family and all that. So then he started thinking about the breakfast, the satisfactory breakfast, you can say, right? And he was very calm and very he was doing the planning actually. So what happened after that? Then Paris was about 150 kilometers. So now the plane had crossed Paris, and when he started seeing clouds in the sky, right? So suppose he started his journey from Paris to England. So he has covered 150 kilometers here. So he is right now here when he faced this storm. Okay. So in the presence of the clouds, he it made unsafe to travel, because there was the chances of storm also, right? Because he said that there was the mountains of storm, or the dark clouds were there. So the presence of the clouds made it unsafe to travel by air, and there were chances of storm also. So they were so huge and the dark, as the pilot compared them to the black mountains. Okay, so you can see really it is looking the black mountains. Next, I knew I could not fly and over them, and didn't have enough fuel to fly around them to north or south. Now what should be done? Now he knew that he could not pass the clouds, right? Because it was impossible for him to go above them and to escape them with that little amount of fuel he had, only because he had only the last tank of the fuel was left with him. So what was the right decision he has to take now? I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. Now, the situation, he is confused and he is in curiosity that what to do. Should he go back to Paris or should he go to England? Now, he is in confusion. Now, so the right decision would have been to fly back to Paris safely. He thought that I ought to go back to Paris. So what he is saying here, that it was actually right decision, that if he would have been fly back to Paris safely. But he is dreaming once again, he is making that decision because he wanted to meet his family. So he thought that he is dreaming about that breakfast. So I will take the risk for the family, people can do anything for their family. So he just took the risk. I thought and flew the old Dakota straight into the storm. So what he's saying here, that instead of going back to Paris, because it was safe also and he could easily go back to Paris, but because he wished to meet his family, so he wanted to take risk, and he was so desperate actually, and he wanted to be with his family and have the English breakfast over there. So he went straight into the storm. So thus he headed his plane right to the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything. Outside the aeroplane, the old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. Now, when he just took the risk, when he headed the plane right to the storm, so what happened that time? He said that it was inside the cloud, everything was suddenly black. So it was so dark because of the storm, and nothing was visible outside the plane. It was impossible to see anything outside the plane, and the aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. So what happened? That when everything was invisible actually, and he started losing control on the plane, because here he is saying that the aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. So he just lost his control over the aeroplane. So this is enough for today. In the next video, we will read that was he able to land safely at England or not. So thank you very much for today. Read the chapter. Stay safe. Stay healthy.